Deep within the mists of mythology and forgotten history lies the origin of gunpowder, better known as black powder. Through the centuries, many scholars have tried to pinpoint the origins of this simple concoction of saltpeter, sulfur, and charcoal. Many have laid claim, from the Chinese to the Greeks, the Arabs to the Hindus. Pyrotechnical devices were certainly in use by the Chinese many centuries earlier. Ceremonial and religious fireworks were common. These concoctions of chemicals may well have included the black powder. The first official record of black powder appeared around 1260 AD in the writings of a Franciscan friar, Roger Bacon. The use of black powder at the time seems to have been restricted to pyrotechnic novelties and fireworks. The first weaponized use of the powder seems to have been the millimeter cannon, as described in the writings of Walter de Millimeter of England, dated 1326. Other records reveal that by this time gun and shot were, if not commonplace, well known. Illustrations of a soldier firing a hand gun with a hot iron appear around 1400. Other depictions showed cannon and handgun side by side. The earliest existing samples of these handguns and cannon date back to around this time. These simple crude weapons were often heavily decorated. They generally consisted of a wooden stave or rod up to 3 feet long and an iron or bronze cast barrel attached with iron bands. The barrel varied from 1 to 3 feet with a smooth bore. The so-called caliber of these early weapons varied from ½ an inch to 1½ inches. Some of these devices seem to have been cast as a hollow tube, then one end was plugged to form the chamber. A vent or flash hole was then drilled through the metal at one end. Powder was introduced into the barrel, followed by shot or stones or other projectiles. Powder was then added to the outer vent or flash hole, and whilst the gun was held and aimed with the wooden stave, hot iron was applied to the priming powder in the vent. It was ignited and flashed down through the hole into the chamber, igniting the main charge, thus firing the shot. With slight variations including hooks and handles, these handguns were used whilst on horseback, from wagon or parapet. Bracing the handgun against a solid object with the hook lessened the recoil the shooter suffered. The Hakenbuchse, from the old German word for hook, Haken, gradually changed over time to harquebus or arquebus.